Good girl.
Mr. Walter?
Here.
Mr. Urbana?
Here.
Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
Here.
Mr. First?
Here.
Chairwoman Gotcha.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Bedminster Township Land Use Board was filed with the Township Clerk, sent to the Bernardsville News and the Courier News and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building, 1 Miller Lane, Bedminster, New Jersey, on January 10th, 2025.
You stand for flag salute. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll open it up to the public. If there's anyone here who would like to talk about anything that's not on the agenda. Anybody online, Janine?
No, I believe it is just Mr. Collins at this point, and Mr. Roth is with the applicant.
Okay. All right, then I'll close it to the public. We have minutes that we need to approve from August 7th. If you've had an opportunity to look at the minutes,
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes. Second.
all in favor?
Aye. I'm an abstention for that.
I think everybody else was here. Yeah, you were online, no, Lou, yeah, so everybody else is okay. All right, minutes are approved. We had some correspondence, a letter from Frank Perino for the time extension again. Also, I think everybody got an email about the State Planning Commission. I think they did. If anybody's interested. Okay, we have a resolution for varnish from last month's meeting. You have a chance to look at the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Do we know whether all the debris and everything's been cleaned up?
Yes,
Like I said, it has been.
it has been. They cleaned up within several days.
Oh, good.
It was all clean.
Good, thank you. Okay, roll call, Janine?
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Ms. Urbana?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Abstain.
Correct, I'm sorry. Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. DiGiovanni?
How do I vote if I voted?
He can't vote because
You voted
Negative.
negative.
okay. Mr. First?
Aye.
And Chairwoman Gotcha.
Yes. Determination of completeness, Tesla, Paul.
Chairman, this is an application for a number of charging stations at the Tesla wants to install at Somerset Hill Shopping Center. I wrote a letter dated August 22nd. There are a few items / discrepancies that need to be addressed, and right now the application is incomplete. I did hear from their engineer, and I think they're going to be resubmitting in the relatively near future, but not ready to be scheduled yet.
Okay, all right,
It's recommended that the application be deemed incomplete.
okay. But we don't vote on negative, do we? No, okay. All right, so we're ready for our application, Tiger Claw.
Good evening, Anthony Spicero, Tiger Claw. Excuse the fact I'm not wearing my jacket, but I
Got all that.
scratched from the rain and jacket on me.
Uh-huh,
I'm the Tiger Claw. We're here tonight for site plan approval to install 2 EV charging stations at the Exxon gas station at the corner of Washington Valley Road, 202, 206, and also to legitimize a small convenience store that is contained within a much larger building that's been on the property for quite some time. As part of the site improvements, there will be changes to the lighting. Some of the impervious cover will be removed. Striping will be added to the parking area. And there's also some landscaping that's proposed as well. We've got 3 witnesses. I'll try to be as quick and brief and concise as I can.
we'll try to get you in total tonight, I hope. And so if you could save your questions and stuff till the end, we'll have everybody, your
Very well.
witnesses at the end. Okay.
My first witness is Mike Jallo.
Try to hang on to those questions, whatever you have. Okay,
Sir, this is the attorney. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address and spell your last name.
Michael Jallo, Jallo. Our address is 1432 202 206, Putnam, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Jallo, you're one of the principals of Tiger Claw.
Correct.
How long has Tiger Claw owned this property?
We've owned it for 13 years, but we've operated for 25. We've
And-
leased it previously.
And prior to that, who owned the?
Tiger Claw as well. Tiger Claw Inc. was leasing from Exxon Corporation.
So Exxon owned it, but then
We're lease dealers.
Exxon decided to divest their ownership interest in the real estate and let it be privately owned? Corporate. Okay. Can you tell us the history of the property as you know it?
As far as we've been operating as a motor fuel only. We've had the service bays used for storage, and we've always had a small sales room that we've operated as well for 25 years.
And prior to this becoming a gas station, what was this site used for?
I think it's been a station for about 50 years, but historically, I think it was an old Chrysler dealership. Not certain of that. That's only from customers showing me pictures of it from the 30s.
Now, there's a rather large structure that's on the property. Approximately how many square feet is it?
I'm guessing about 8,500 square feet, maybe a little more, a little less.
And,
Can you speak into the microphone? I'm having.
Sure,
trouble hearing.
I'm sorry. About 8,500 square feet.
and of that space, how much of it is utilized as the convenience store?
I think less than 800 square feet for the convenience store.
It's my understanding that no formal approvals were ever secured for the convenience store. Is that correct?
Correct. There's-
Okay. What is offered for sale in the convenience store?
We are strictly, I would say like a snack shop. What would be sold out of a vending machine,
It's
sodas,
just
soda, cigarettes, all packaged goods, candy bars, chips.
so there's no coffee made on site. There is no food preparation on site.
We're unable to because we don't have a 3-tier sink. Our sanitation is just a 2 restaurants, a very old antiquated building.
And you're not seeking approval to expand
We,
into those type uses, are you?
not at all.
Okay. What are the hours of operation of the gas station?
We run Monday through Saturday, 6 to 11. At Sundays are softer hours, 8 to 9.
Tell me about employees. How many employees do you have at the site at any one time?
We're a one-man show.
So there's one person that
Runs in and out.
will tend to pumping the gas, but also the convenience store.
Correct.
Conversations we had, you indicated to me that the only people that go into this convenience store are those who come to purchase gas, except for one commodity. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what's that one commodity?
Cigarettes
Okay, so other than that, the only people that come are,
are
and you,
regular customers.
where do people now park to go into the convenience store?
Most of them will be at the islands getting fuel while they come inside. Some will park on the side of the store. Some will park in front of our garage door bays on the side there by the air machine.
Okay,
Still
the balance of the building, you said it's approximately 8,500 square feet, did you
maybe
say?
a little less,
And-
8,000 to 8,500.
And approximately 10% is utilized as the convenience store. What is the other 90% used for?
We've been using it for storage. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry. We've been using it strictly as storage, but we would like the opportunity, in the future, to maybe open the bays for service. It's a service bay. We're set up as a service bay lease.
And what is stored in that space?
Well, from our other stores, we have our overflow of shelving, just pretty much, we keep our records in there. We keep a lot of extra parts for our stations and just extra shelving and equipment that has expired or we may reuse.
When you reference other stores, specifically, what are you referring to?
We have not Tiger Claw, but our
company runs 3 other businesses and separate corporations and separate municipalities in New Jersey.
And what types of businesses are these?
These are convenience stores. Those would be the traditional convenience stores in Parlin, in Howell, and in Lakewood, New Jersey.
And what, so this.
They're all Exxon stations.
The structure is used for storage of goods that ultimately go to
Overflow.
this convenience store.
Correct.
And you access the balance of the building, not the convenience store. How do the goods moving in and out of that building?
Well, the building has, I gotta make sure I'm counting it right. 1, 2, 3, 6 service bays, 4 in the back, 2 in the front. We service only from the front of the store. The other 4 are pretty much been closed for 25 years. We haven't opened them.
You're not seeking approval to, and the right now to service automobiles, but you're not relinquishing that right either.
Correct.
I don't think I have any additional questions. Well, let me just say this. The EV charging stations, what's the history behind it?
About 2 years ago, we applied for the state grant. We saw an opportunity to, get the monies from the state to help subsidize the installation of them. We got approved from the state. We went through the whole process. It was actually a little bit more difficult than this process, to be honest. So we, coming from the state engineers that we hired and gone for the application and approvals, we thought it would just be a simple process of applying to the city. We had no idea that we were in a non-compliance, non-variance issue that we drew up.
And the company you were dealing with the EV charging stations, what happened to that?
FreeWire Technologies, unfortunately, highly recommended by the state, went out of business about a year after we purchased.
And how much money did you lose as a result of that?
Each unit is over $200,000, so about $400,000 in units that are still functional. But now once we get approval, I have to seek a new company to redo the computer or the customer processing. The charging units are functional. I have to find a new, I guess the hardware for the computers for the customer interface.
Is there any advertising or displays associated with the EV charging station?
FreeWire on their brand has their name on the side of the panel, but can easily be covered. It's a sticker. But the interface is really just a tablet on the computer. On the dispenser, just like a gas dispenser for customers to put in their credit card and process their charging.
I think I have any other questions for this witness? Not at this time.
Okay. We'll wait at the end and ask any questions that you might have for this witness.
Thank you.
Okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Roth.
Mr. Roth, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I did.
And please state your name.
Sure. Michael Roth, last name spelled R-O-T-H, from Roth Engineering.
Thank you. Mr. Roth, you testified before this board previously as a professional engineer.
That is correct.
I think I saw you here last month, as a matter of fact, so.
That's correct.
Yes, the board recognizes and accepts Michael Roth's qualifications as a professional engineer, and please go ahead, gentlemen.
Thank you, Councilman. Mike, why don't you take us through this site and tell us what exists and what's proposed here?
Sure. For the benefit of the board members, I'm going to share my screen to present the plan that was submitted. Bear with me one moment.
We need to tilt the screen.
Yeah, can we tilt the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sorry, because we can't see you.
You're getting a workout. Today.
Well, it's your money,
show.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
That's better.
Oh, great. Ben and White.
So the plan that appears on the screen is sheet 1 of 4, which is the zoning plan dated February 13th, 2025, revised through April 25th, 2025. This was part of the submission package. So it's the site plan that was submitted to the township. So starting with an overview of the project and the existing conditions, the subject property is lot 1 of block 73 located at 30 Washington Valley Road. The property is a corner lot with frontage on Washington Valley Road to the north and US Route 202 to the west within the township's VN Village Neighborhood District Zone. The lot contains an existing Exxon gas station and building used as a service station and small C-store as described by the applicant. The VN zone does not permit service stations or C-stores. The gas and service station was previously approved. However, the C-store was not previously approved, which is part of the reason why we're here tonight. The lot is fully conforming with respect to its area, width, and frontage. The existing building complies with all setback requirements except for the front yard setback to Washington Valley Road. The site contains a roadway opening from Route 202 and 2 openings from Washington Valley Road, along with on-site driveways that surround the building. The on-site parking is located to the south of the building, and there is 1 handicap space directly north of the building. The site has an existing impervious coverage of 45.5%, which is a pre-existing non-conforming condition, as a maximum of 40% is permitted. So that's a summary of the existing conditions. I will now go into the proposed conditions and also address the comments from the Boswell Engineering Review dated July 22nd, 2025 within this testimony. The project is requesting approval to operate the convenience store, which did not receive prior approval and requires a D variance. The improvements to the property include expanding the parking to the south of the building. So I'm just going to zoom in on our plan here to get a better view of that. So the proposed parking is shown where my cursor is, which is south of the building next to Route 202, and provides for 14 spaces, including 4 electric vehicle charging spaces. The parking lot is located within the front yard, which is not permitted, therefore C variance is being requested. And it's only 3 spaces. This dashed line here is that 30-foot front yard setback line. So 2 spaces are almost fully within that setback. There's a small sliver of the 3rd space. So the majority of the spaces do comply. However, a few do not, which is a C variance we're requesting. Some of the parking will be located on a gravel surface. Therefore, we're seeking a design waiver. Striping and curb stops will be proposed to delineate the parking spaces. The dimensions of the EV parking spaces complies with the minimum size requirements, including the accessible EV stall, which is 11 feet wide by 18 feet deep, with a 5-foot buffer lane, and we will also comply with the ADA slope standards. Next, I'm going to flip to our next exhibit. This is sheet C4 of the EV charging plans prepared by Azimuth Group, last revised April 18th, 2024. We're going to focus on detail number 1 in the upper left corner. I'm going to zoom into that. The EV charging stations will appear similar to this detail number 1. This is a typical type detail. Testimony from the applicant said it will no longer be the company of FreeWire, but this does give you a view of what the station may look like, and it will be a different branding.
Sorry, what piece, what exhibit are you referencing, or what?
So this wasn't part of the submission package, so we'll refer to this as A1.
Oh, it's not.
Not part of it.
We were asked for this additional charging station detail, and Mr. Brower reported the live thing too. Sending it to you to see.
So
It'll be in evidence as A1, and if you can provide a paper copy, an electronic copy to Janine for after tonight, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
I'm
Maybe
sorry.
you could pass it here so we could see it first, and
Sure.
and then we'll give it to
So I don't-
Janine.
All the copies, that's just.
When you reference this document, I started to look for it. Could you
Okay.
just tell me what it is it's supposed to show?
Sure. Yeah, so this is sheet C4 of the electric vehicle charging plans. Dated April 18th, 2024. It provides details of the free wire charging station. What we've done is we zoomed into the what they call detail number 1, which gives a view of the free wire charging station. And as explained in testimony by the applicant, they're no longer using free wire, and it will be of different branding, but this does give us a generic detail of what the station will look like.
There was a computer screen or tablet referred to by Mr. Jallo. Is that what we see in the center, on the right-hand side there?
Correct, yes.
And there's branding on the left side, the face of it, but it's my understanding that can be covered or eliminated.
Correct,
Same thing with the branding that is above the tablet.
correct.
What is that a light or what is that up above towards the top, you know?
That's just an area light for someone to better view the screen for setting up their charging. So as mentioned previously, the charging station will not contain any ads or signage other than for the charger. Service for the charging station will come off the nearby pole, and the applicant will obtain the required permitting, which may include the need for a connection box for the charging station.
I believe Mr. Ferraro indicated that it has to be underground. We recognize that. And
Yes, and we'll comply with that comment. Next, the project proposes new pole mounted lighting for the new parking area. We have another exhibit I'll refer to as A2.
Yeah, we might as well just let everyone, thank you.
So again, this was a request from the Boswell Engineering Review to provide a detail of the light that would match the requirement that was requested. So we're going to refer to this as A2. This is the detail for the post top lantern light. 3 pole lights with a post top lantern fixture are proposed at a height of 16 feet with a light temperature of 3000 Kelvin, which complies with the township's standards. The lights will be serviced underground from the building, and the hours of operation of the EV stalls and lighting will comply with the township ordinance. And next we have our.
no more than 16 feet high.
Correct, yes.
And with that, you're still complying with the lighting requirements of the ordinance.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Next are, we have another exhibit we'll refer to as A3.
And this would be known as the impervious sketch, is that what we're?
Correct. We'll refer to it as the impervious coverage sketch dated July 24th, 2025. There was a request in the Boswell Engineering Review to try to reduce any impervious areas on the site. So what this plan shows is the existing impervious areas in orange will be taken off, resulting in an approximate 2,000 square foot reduction in coverage from existing condition to bring the impervious coverage closer to the conformance, where the proposed number is going to be now approximately 42%, where a maximum of 40% is permitted. Again, it's still technically a variance, but we're improving a pre-existing non-conforming condition as the current impervious coverage is 45.5%. I believe that addressed all the Boswell Engineering Review comments.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
In that regard. Mr. Ferraro, the report indicates that part of the parking existing and proposed is in a gravel area. We need a design waiver. Is that a comment, in fact, accurate?
That's correct.
And we also raised a question regarding striping on the gravel lot. How is that going to be addressed?
So we're going to install, and as coordinated with Boswell, and I'd like to thank Paul for coordinating with me prior to the meeting to review these comments. We're going to agree to do curb stops to delineate the parking spaces.
Mr. Ferraro, I noticed the seat on the Boswell letterhead was established in 1924. Were you one of the founding members?
You would know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
I think you did the incorporation papers.
are there any other comments in your report or otherwise that you would like that to be?
As the chair said, I think we're gonna wrap everything up together unless you want to do engineering issues now. I did have a couple of things.
Okay, you want to go, Paul? Why don't you go?
Okay. Relative to the parking and the design waiver, I think you probably have to pave the accessible stall,
Correct.
so that'll have to be paved.
Yes.
The electrical box that's required for this is going to be larger than those two charging stations together. I know you're not an electrical engineer, but have you looked at what that's gonna be and how much space it's going to take up?
Yes, it's a great question. I believe our applicant did investigate that as part of the
That was with the PXT engineering plan. We initially with the state application, our engineers that were originally hired was from PXT Technologies. I don't have it in front of me, but I can provide. Their plans were not double the size. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 6 feet long and about 4 feet wide, almost the size of a large generator.
Can you tell us where on the site it would be located?
That's up to them conferring with JCP&L engineers. It needs to be adjacent to the charging stations and something to do with the transformers that I'm not an expert on. So depending on what JCP&L puts their transformer that has to be installed onto their line, then they were thinking, and I'm putting on Mike's computer, about 6 feet behind where the charging units, they wanted to draw a cement pad there, but it's in their plans.
In any event, it's not going to impede traffic circulation getting to and from those charging stations where the
No,
parking stalls, correct?
no, because it would be behind the charging
And
stations.
given its likely location, is it going to compromise site distance coming in and out of the site?
I don't see how. I mean, it's going to be behind the tree. The tree line would cover where the box would go, probably, the existing tree line.
I'm looking at your plan and I see what you're saying, and it calls out for the meter and disconnects on a proposed H-frame.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, I apologize.
I'm telling you, I would be shocked if there were not a large ground mounted transformer that would be required to be installed. It's not part of these plans.
So the transformer from the JCP&L engineer from PXT said it would be about a mile away from the site, it wouldn't be on our site. Because they have some, I don't know the issue with their wiring or their voltage on the line that comes down the street, but they would have to add their transformer down the road, I think.
Okay, I know I sound like I'm crazy about this, but I drive an EV. I go to these stations often, and there's always an enormous box by these high-speed chargers. They're just there, they're not required. And I'm raising it because if you need it, it's going to be in a front yard, and you're not asking for the variance for that time. So we have to somehow deal with it. And if I would be shocked if they could put a transformer a mile down the road and service this. I can tell you that the Tesla application that's coming in on the other side of Washington Valley Road, yes, they have a lot more chargers, but their transformer electrical equipment is enormous. We just did a site plan for 2 of these chargers, and the box was bigger than that table and tall.
With the plans that I saw, the box would be similar to this table, taller, again, 6 feet high, about 6 feet wide, and sorry, about 6 feet long, 6 feet high at most, and 4 feet wide. Is the plan size?
Yeah, that's probably about the size it would be. The question is, where is that going?
So
Well, in their opinion, given the size of this site and what's there and it's likely the need for its likely proximity to the charging stations, can it be installed and not violate the setback requirement?
No,
so
And we would seek variance relief for that installation We don't know exactly where it's going to be. We're at the mercy of JCP. What we would suggest respectfully is that we coordinate those efforts with Mr. Ferraro and come up with a mutually agreeable location that doesn't compromise site distance. I don't think it's going to be any closer to the road than the charging stations themselves. But with that in mind, we'd like to be able to move forward with this.
What are your thoughts, Paul? What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure that it won't be closer. It may be closer.
So it sounds like.
That's the way these come in. And I'm not the only EV driver in the room. And I know there's board members that have probably stopped at these things and they've seen these boxes.
It's gonna be probably 50 people charging this.
And so they do take up some volumes of space. And it's not a de minimis element of the project.
In your opinion, is the site large enough and is there enough area to accommodate for this?
And just skipping ahead to Frank Vanish's memo, there's room on the property where the entire setup could be in a conforming location behind the building.
Understood. Don't know how attractive it would be in terms of bringing in customers, but that's a whole nother story. We'll ask our planner to address that. Are you comfortable leaving this to, as the board, and are you comfortable with leaving this to your discretion to locate this transformer, assuming, it's a big assumption, but assuming the charging stations are located where we are proposing to do so?
It's the board's comfort level now.
If I may, I mean, I proposed when we were discussing the plans with the older engineers, we were concerned about line of sight for customer service. So if a customer was to come to the charging station and they're having difficulty, if it's behind the building, we have no clue. I mean, we could put cameras, but our attendants aren't going to monitor that. But if it's on the side and the attendant can be from line of sight to the gas islands, he could walk over and help someone if they have a question about the charging, like maybe they're having difficulty with the credit card charge or putting the unit into their car vehicle.
And I understand that, and it makes sense for the location of the charging.
Yeah, so that was our logic
But-
in putting in that.
And that makes sense. But I think the question that I was asked was, can you put this transformer in a conforming location? And I don't know if you can with the chargers where they are. I can understand some logic relative to the location of where you're putting these. Because, yeah, I've run into the case where they just don't.
I would suggest respectfully, if the board is comfortable with the location of charging stations, that you delegate to Mr. Ferraro the decision to locate this transformer in the best possible location. And if it turns out that we need variance relief for that, to grant that as part of this application.
I'm not thrilled with that whole concept.
I'm not either. I mean, that decision is the board's decision, and we trust Mr. Ferrera 100%, but it's not his decision, it's the board's decision.
It's your decision, it's your job to bring it to us.
I also think historically we've had issues with JCP&L dropping things in places we weren't wild about. Certainly neighboring towns have had issues with JCP&L dropping and utility companies dropping big boxes in places that we have.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
Much of things.
Yeah,
among other things.
you're right, exactly.
I think-
Can I suggest this?
6 feet,
If-
6 to 10 feet. 12 by 12 for the back, for the porch.
If we
I don't know
can
if it's
convince
transformer.
Will makes the decision of where it must be from an electrical design standpoint, that it does not require variance relief because of where it's located, I would ask the board to allow us to move forward with that without the need to return for an site plan approval. If, however, where they're telling us it must be violates a setback requirement, then we'll come back. Does that sound like a fair proposal?
I believe it does.
And let me weigh in on why I think that is also a fair proposal.
Yeah,
Were it not for the requirement for the variances, you would not be seeing this application at the board
mhm.
under the EV charging. So if they're putting an element of that in a conforming location, I would think that following the same logic, that would be okay.
Right.
But it's the charging stations that they do need the relief for.
Where would a conforming location be?
It would be in the back of the building, right?
It'd almost just push them down
Yeah,
two
so the-
spots.
Show us where the setback lines are, please.
Sure, so that this 30-foot front yard setback where my cursor is running is the setback line. So
Right
the
there.
charger, the proposed charging station is proposed just outside of it to comply. The applicant has indicated to me that their intention is to do the transformer just south of it. And as we mentioned,
Just behind it? You mean just behind the chargers?
correct.
Yeah, it would be, at least, I don't know, again, I don't know about the technical needs of how far it has to be and how close it has to be, but in the original plan, they saw it as far as 10 to 15 feet of behind. But I
It's
don't know
gonna
if it should
be
be further
behind to
behind
the
or.
side. Behind or to the other side.
Where's the setback line, if you will, behind? You showed us
So
along the road, but what about behind it, where,
it's this dashed line here where my cursor is running.
right?
So there's an area where it could comply.
Okay.
To put it,
Where you're pointing there.
So it would be no closer to the road than the charging stations.
correct. Or it could, I mean, it would be comply with the 30-foot setback, the charging station's 32.6.
I'd be all right with that.
I have a. Conceptually with the transformer, I don't have a problem. And I understand the desire for customer service and the ability for people to see, but. These charging stations are frequently in the middle of parking lots with no one around and so I think when you have an EV car, you figure it out or you find a different charging station. I'm having a problem with all of the space on the site. Putting those two parking spaces in the setback. Like, is there some reason it doesn't all just get pushed down 15 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is, outside the setback?
Rest of
I don't know if I understand the question.
Okay, so I mean, the existing pavement line where parking occurs today is in this area, although we're requesting relief for that. It's a condition that's been there where there's always been, this has always been a parking area.
So you're not changing that, the existing curb line or parking spaces?
In this location, correct.
But to her point, you have all this room. You got tons of room, so, to answer her question, what would the answer be, other than it's existing like that now? In other words, why don't you shift it to be conforming? Whether there's a parking space there now or not? That's her question, I think.
Yeah, I
Sort of.
actually have a attacking it from a different, is there currently a parking requirement for this site? Like, are some of these parking
Well,
spaces required?
The problem is it's a gas station.
Huh?
It's not a permitted use, so there's no parking standard for it.
Besides, doesn't the convenience center require parking?
For the use.
We do have information on the required parking. So when you look at the proposed use in terms of the service station, the square footage of the convenience store, there's a total requirement of 12 spaces. And we're proposing 16 spaces, so we do comply with the required number of parking.
It's immature.
But to answer your question regarding the location. It's not often that I lack the ability to answer a question with a good answer. But I don't have a good answer from you. I think we can and we should move that whole array of parking to comply with setback requirements. There's enough room to do so. I really can't sit here or stand here in good conscience to say there are
You got
A
wiggle
number
room
of
here.
legitimate reasons why we should be aware of this.
Mhm.
Removing some impervious as it is, some pavement, we can do so in that area as well. Just shift everything to the, I don't know where the north is, but.
This way, I know it's this way. We can shift everything, I guess, east.
Shift everything out of the, set.
Yeah, it's maybe about 2 spaces over. Thereabouts, yeah.
Mhm.
And it may just be based on testimony that the convenience store. Yes, you've got an ordinance requirement for parking. Frankly, we don't think we need any parking for the convenience store, because people that use the convenience store, except for the people that buy cigarettes. They're parked at pumps getting fuel, or parked at the EV charging stations. We could eliminate some of that parking, move it up out of the setback area. And I think meet the needs of the site and reduce impervious, and it's just a better fix, better use of the property. But that's up to you. We would love to reduce the parking, we don't think it's necessary.
Well, then I think you should.
Great.
I have sort of a different question. How long does it take to charge a car? How long do you anticipate that it takes to charge?
So these are what we were told, we haven't used them, so I can't confirm for sure, but we bought supercharging or high voltage charging stations. It claims it can charge 2 cars because it has a built-in battery within the charging. 40 minutes for 80% charge of like an average Tesla.
So what is it you anticipate these people doing during the 80 minutes? I'm sorry, 40 minutes.
Good question. And that's probably what started my whole problem. I updated our convenience store, which I always thought was just a sales room, to make room for a waiting area. I'm going to add maybe 2 chairs and a table, that if you're waiting in your car and it's inclement weather, it's cold or it's hot, that you can come in the sales room and sit down and wait for your car to be charged. So we were looking to just expand the sales room just to add seating or customer waiting area, if you want to call it that.
But in conjunction with that, not to do anything with the extent of the convenience store.
You're not gonna expand the type of convenience.
No desire. We've been operating for 25 years and we haven't changed the items that we've sold in 25 years. For example, we haven't had coffee or any food service or any sort of breakfast service. We haven't had a lottery machine.
Just want about a seating area.
For a waiting area.
Utilize.
Yeah, because we thought, okay, if it's cold and someone has children or elderly, that they can come in and get out of the weather and just sit down and relax in our sales room.
In the restrooms,
I'm sorry?
restroom, where would they go to the bathroom?
We only have one and it's outdoors, close to the EV charging. It's on the southwest corner, I guess it would be, on the building. It's the outhouse. It's a little jet that comes out off the side of the building. We have one public restroom.
And can they charge the car when your operation is closed?
No, because we'll power. We'll turn off.
No power.
No power.
So now we ask the questions now, we hold.
Yeah, we might as well. I mean, obviously, we've gotten into this routine, so go ahead, Jim, if you have a question.
It's gonna be power all the time, you can't turn it off. There's no way you're gonna be able to just turn off transform.
You know, but you can shut down
The access to it, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know what the our ordinance is for charging stations. I don't see the problem with people charging, and I'm sure depending on what happens with Tesla, they're gonna probably ask to be open 24/7 as well. I don't know how that's gonna fly, but people, when you're charging on the charger, you charge a lot of, you just sit in your car, you don't go to a waiting somewhere unless you're gonna go get coffee or something. If anybody, you'll run across the street, but that's not really necessary.
I wish there was a charge, I wish there was a waiting room where I charged yesterday. I could have used the Wi-Fi.
You gotta get a Tesla. All right, that's why.
Anyone else right now?
I have a question. Questions for Paul. Paul, how many permitted uses are we dealing with here? Is the charging station separate from the gas station and the convenience store And then they have a storage facility. Are we in any conflict with permitted uses?
The EV charging law says these are permitted uses at any gas station. It's not our ordinance that prescribes that.
So we have two uses, basically the gas station and then the.
Well, you have three uses.
Yeah.
One of which is clearly permitted under the EV law.
Okay,
The gas station is clearly not permitted. The convenience store is a retail use, which is a permitted use in itself. But it's not approved to be done with the gas station.
right.
Okay, you want to continue?
Please. Yes. Do you have any other questions for Mr. Bill?
No.
So this is Matt Flynn.
The attorney will swear you.
Oh, I'm looking at the board. Good evening.
Sir, please raise your right hand.
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address and spell your last name.
Matthew Flynn, Flynn.
Mr. Flynn, what is your occupation and your training professional history?
Sure. I have my professional planner's license in the state of New Jersey, as well as my AICP license, which is the national licensure for planners. Education from Rutgers, master's degree in planning and public policy. I have testified before this board a few years ago and over 100 boards across the state.
Yes, the board recognizes and accepts Matthew Flynn's qualifications as a professional planner. Please go ahead, gentlemen. And, hearing the testimony of the principal of the owner, I think you better address the issue of whether storage for Tiger Claw for other sites is a use variance, and if so, if not, why not? And if so, what are the ways to control it, to make sure it's not storage for others? So
Sure. Well,
I learned that in the testimony of Mr. Jallo, I think.
Yes, and I'll be sure to address that. So just, do we have a connection issue or is that just on this computer?
I think you're good.
Okay.
Wait, no, he's there. He's just fussing.
All right, well, just to get started, I think, I'll do that in a second. As was noted by the engineer, and I just want to make sure it's crystal clear with everyone this evening, we are not proposing any changes to the building massing as it exists today. So here we have a lawfully existing building. This is not an application requesting setback variances, height variances, FAR relief related to the building itself, or as was testified to previously, even to the parking at this point, we have agreed to eliminate that variance as well. Really, the primary question here tonight is a use issue. It relates to the proposed C-store in a zone that actually permits several uses, including retail, restaurants, service uses, offices, and there's also a specific provision in that zone that allows for mixed uses of any of those permitted uses. So this is not a zone that would restrict one principal use per lot in this zone. Importantly, we're not necessarily expanding the gas station use per se. We're not adding any fuel pumps. And I mentioned that just because that is an existing non-permitted use. Here, as was testified to, we are talking about an 850 square foot retail space on a property that is actually substantially oversized in the context of zoning, substantially underdeveloped in the context of zoning. In other words, this is a zone that anticipates much more building massing and development intensity than what we're looking to continue this evening. Really, I think at the heart of this application is we have an applicant that wants to provide a service to his existing customers, better serving his existing customers, and making use of an existing space that's there today. It was used for other uses in the past, and here we're looking to reactivate an existing space inside the building, again, to serve our customer base. Just to orient the board here, we are a corner property, and I guess, is this exhibit A4 at this point, Tony?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
A4.
And what would this be?
Yeah, exhibit A4 is, I believe it's a 3-page exhibit consisting of some drone photographs taken by my office on August 7th, 2025. Yeah. And I do have some copies for.
We don't have this.
Thank you.
We can hand them down if you want.
Sure. So again, while that's getting distributed there, these are drone photographs taken by my office in August of this year, accurately depicting the current condition of the subject property. And really, I think to orient the board and help paint the picture of what we're doing here this evening. Here we are looking at a corner property with frontage on both Washington Valley Road and then routes 202, 206. We're looking at a lot area, like I said, substantially oversized per zoning. We're at about 1.5 acres, whereas 0.5 acres is the minimum in the zone. So this is something that's over 3 times that zoning minimum. Again, a very large property, and I'll get to some of the bulk requirements in a moment. As was testified, this is the VN zone. It's a highly permissive zone, and I listed some of those uses. Here, if we look on sheet 1, we can see the existing structure. Again, we're not adding any building mass. We're simply looking to retrofit and utilize existing space inside the building. I'll slide through some of these images here. Sheet 1 obviously shows the property from routes 202, 206. To the left, across Washington Valley Road, we do have a large parking lot. If we were to slide to sheet 2, if I can get there. Here we now have that parking lot across Washington Valley Road on the right. Here just giving a view of the rear of the structure. And then really, I think sheet 3 gives the board nice perspective as to what's going on here. We do have over 1,000 feet of frontage along routes 202, 206, not on our property, but where we don't have any buildings that directly front the street along 202, 206. Similarly, along Washington Valley, we have just about 1,000 feet of frontage along Washington Valley where there are no buildings similarly up against the street. So this is sort of an isolated location on this block. You have a lot of light, air, open space, lots of trees, really built-in buffering related to that multifamily complex in the center of the block there. So I bring that up to say that this is not, even if we do have the transformer, the EV charging stations, etc., additional building mass here is not going to result in a crammed-in effect where we have buildings on each side. Here is a lot of space in either direction where we don't have an adjacent building to worry about impacts in that regard. So here, as was testified, we are proposing to essentially legalize an existing non-conforming convenience store. So that brings us to a D1 use variance. For that, we look to the Medici test. The enhanced burden of proof for a use variance is known as the site suitability standard. It's a site-specific test. It's not general to all uses throughout the zone. It's relative to a particular property. The test directs us to look at what are the factors that this property might have an impact on, what are the unique characteristics of this particular property, as well as the immediate area. As I said, this is a somewhat isolated property. We really don't have any immediate neighbors or or neighbors that would have a substantial visual impact from the street. So this does stand out as being really the only building along either 202, 206 in the immediate area. I would say that we should and can look at the fact that we are looking at a historic use of the property as a gas station, posing a use that is complementary to that lawfully existing use. I would say that just as gas stations serve the motoring public, this is something that is necessarily accessory to that use, providing a grab and go option for customers of that gas station. I would note also that this is something that is at the edge of the VN zone. It's at the southern end of the VN zone. We're not right smack dab in the middle of the zone where we would be surrounded by other exclusively permitted uses. Here, we're right at the edge and we don't really have any immediate neighbors that we would be worried about having an impact on. Notably, again, this is a prominent intersection, so to the extent that this is a use that's going to serve the motoring public, this is at a location that would be especially convenient. So that, I think, satisfies the site suitability standard. Moving on to the positive criteria, we look to the municipal land use law, the benefits of the application. I think we can look to purpose A, which is promotion of the general welfare. Here, again, this is something that's going to add to the general convenience of this location for the motoring public, taking advantage of a prime location to provide retail, and of course, reducing impervious coverage. And I think pulling the parking away from the road is also a benefit that came out of this hearing this evening. Purpose G is variety of uses in appropriate locations. I think I can fall back on the site suitability testimony. But again, this is something that's complementary to an existing use. If this were proposed on another property that maybe didn't have a gas station on it already, I think my planning conclusion would be totally different. But in this case, we are looking at a unique property that's already developed. Purpose I, desirable visual environment. Here, like I keep saying, we're not proposing any additional building mass. And even though we are proposing the charging stations, again, this is a site that can accommodate that increased mass, so to speak, due to its oversized nature and immediate surroundings. Purpose M, efficient use of land. This is something that's substantially compliant from a bulk perspective, which I think leads into the negative criteria. Again, this is a highly permissive zone. Any combination of permitted uses would be allowed here. And I think convenience store is not a substantial departure from what you could get here as of right. Again, retail, service, office, etc. In terms of zone conformance, again, we have a lot that's over 3 times the lot area requirement. And with that, we meet the front setback to Route 202, 206. We meet the side setback substantially at almost 7 times. The FAR is about half of what would be permitted here. We comply with parking, building height, lot frontage, lot width, etc. Really, I think all of that goes to show you that the property is not going to stand out as being overdeveloped by any means. Like I mentioned, we are reducing the impervious coverage from 45.5 to 44.9%, whereas 40% is permitted. And as was testified, this is going to be limited in terms of the retail that we are providing here. No food preparation, no coffee. And that, I think, would be something that we would not be able to say if we were talking about a permitted use such as retail, which would be allowed to sell these items. I'm not sure if
I think they were just making noise. I'm debating muting them.
Okay, yeah, so just to wrap up, I think we eliminated the 1C variance that we were seeking this evening, which was the parking setback. We've agreed to pull that out of the front setback, so this is compliant in terms of all bulk requirements. From the planning end, we are really just looking at the use, and to that end, I think I put in substantial testimony regarding the suitability of this particular site. Again, we're not talking about the appropriateness of the use in general. We're talking about its appropriateness in relation to this specific property. And I think there's a lot of unique conditions here that lend itself to the use that we're speaking of this evening.
That may be a good segue into the question raised by the board's attorney, Mr. Collins, regarding the use of the balance of this building that's been on the property for many years for storage. Mr. Collins raised the question of whether we need use variance relief, and if not, why not? What's your opinion on it?
Sure. So if we look at some of the permitted uses in the zone, grocery stores, meat markets, delis, banks, offices, these are all uses that will necessarily have a storage component to them. The principal use here is not storage. It's not a warehouse. It's not a storage building. This is something that is just necessary and accessory to the permitted use on the property. By no means would I classify this building as a storage-oriented building. So I would say that use variance would not be required for that.
If the board concludes otherwise, because the goods that are stored there not only are goods that are sold in this store, but are sold in other stores, and just given the size of that storage area in relation to the convenience store, if use variance relief is necessary, what can you tell us about the appropriateness of use variance for that particular use? And what limits or restrictions would you recommend imposing so this doesn't turn into a storage facility that's utilized by third parties?
Yeah, I think in terms of conditions, I would say no outdoor storage. What council just mentioned about no storage for third party entities. I think if the use variance was found to be necessary for this application, I would say that, again, the site suitability standard would be met. I don't think I need to go through it extensively, but here, relying on my testimony, this is an existing building that has a substantial amount of unused space. If it wasn't used for storage, conceivably the applicant would be looking to use it for something. But the nice thing about this is that despite the fact that the board may find that use variance is appropriate here, it doesn't result in the expansion of the building per se. It's again utilizing existing space.
It's a passive use as opposed to something other than being very passive.
Correct.
And do you see any negative, as far as the negative criteria, do you see, can you address that in the context of the storage facility?
Sure. I think in terms of the negative criteria, so no substantial detriment to the zone or to the public. In terms of public impacts, this is not something that's going to have a substantial visual impact on the streetscape. Again, no additional building mass. In terms of impacts to the zone, I said it a couple times now, this is a highly permissive zone where storage would be akin, or a certain element or a certain amount of storage would be necessary for a whole host of many of these uses. In the grand scheme of things, with a lot of this size and the permitted uses that we have here, you could get a much more intense use of this property. Here, as council said, we're talking about a passive use. In relation to what you could get here as of right, when we look at the size and the permitted uses, it's really not going to have a substantial detriment.
Thank you.
Let me just ask, how much space there is not being utilized that could be used for storage? I mean, is it a substantial amount, do you know?
Like 7,500 square feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not 8,000 square feet according to this. It's what, 5,300 according to this, not the 8,000 that Michael talked about. So when you take away 800 from the store, you're more like, 4,300.
Mhm.
So the question again, I'm sorry. The question again, I'm sorry.
You know, how much space wasn't being utilized that could be used for with storage? So if you only have a small amount for the convenience center itself, what's left?
So
That's what I'm asking.
you would say three quarters of the building is old service bays We have dispersed some old equipment in there. And we store maybe pallets of water when we order water for the stores. And we just store a pallet and we distribute from that location to the other sites. But we don't have we don't have, we have a lot of old equipment, but it's taking maybe a third of the 4,500 square feet left.
What type of equipment are you referring to?
Old shelving, old refrigerator equipment. We have one new, we stored now because of the issues, one new dispenser for our stations. We had an issue where our dispenser was lost and it took us 6 months to replace. So we purchased a dispenser and we just store it there. We have the 2 charging units that we purchased there in the base being stored there. We will have at random like a pallet of antifreeze, a pallet of oil, and a pallet of maybe water being stored there to distribute to the other sites when we buy in bulk.
But there isn't like racking set up with,
No,
pallets and.
no. No, I mean, there's no retailing out of the storage. It's just for our personal use to take, store our overstock of other stores,
And it's all going to your
other sites.
immediate affiliates.
Sorry.
Your affiliate,
The other-
Yes.
companies affiliated with.
Yes,
The other convenience stores that Mr. Gell has an ownership interest. Yes.
Anybody else have any questions for any of the witnesses?
I have a question about the gravel east of the building along Washington Valley. That's like a no man's land over there. When you drive into that gravel area, it seems like there's ruts and it just seems messy. Is there any way to tidy it up or clean it up? I mean, I don't know the best way to do it, but it just seems messy for, it's a mess. It is. And there's no direction really about which way to go, or I'm just, looking for ideas. Really.
Sure, yeah, and that's a great question. We appreciate it. As described in the testimony, this was actually a comment in the Boswell engineering review letter to reduce kind of the impervious that expands beyond the area that we don't need. So I've flipped back to A3, which is the sketch that shows in orange the impervious we're removing. In conversations with the applicant, we did want to maintain some impervious for the potential of restarting the service bay business in the future. That's why we've dimensioned out 80 feet. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So again, the orange is what we're removing. So this new orange line is going to be the edge of pavement line. But we did want to maintain some impervious in case that service bay business was ever restarted, where there's room to circulate traffic out of this area.
But certainly we can, to the extent there are ruts, areas that are not paved, and that can be improved, added to and rolled, just made better.
Maybe just some new gravel and
Yes.
level out.
And
Because it is actually, when you come out of when you get on the side of the building, it does start to look like, where are we? It's like everything's all over the place in terms of not looking like a finished piece of commercial property. It doesn't look finished.
No, it's an eyesore. On that whole intersection, it's an eyesore. Absolutely.
Is Frank online?
He is.
Yeah. Frank, do you have anything further?
I think that question about the no man's land was one that was raised in my report. I'm glad to see it was talked about. I appreciate what we just saw on the screen with regard to cutting that down some, but it still strikes me that an 80-foot width in an area where the standard two-way driveway would be 24 feet. I'm not sure what kind of traffic it invites and whether the traffic that might, it seems certainly like if a truck was trying to find a place to pull over for a while, that would be a pretty logical spot. So I'm trying to understand if there's anything we can do to minimize inappropriate movements there. And my other question really related to the frequency of deliveries to and deliveries from this site to other sites related to that storage aspect of the use. Types of vehicles, numbers of trips, that sort of stuff.
Let's see if we can deal with the second question first, Mr. Jallo. How frequently do are deliveries brought in or things brought out to the stores?
And what's the timing of it? When do they deliver?
It's very easy. I mean, it's maybe twice a week or 3 times a week. We will deliver, let's say, a pallet of oil maybe once a month at most. It's not like we're excessive volume, but once it's delivered once a month, let's say it'd be a pallet of water or a pallet of antifreeze or oil. It's put in the bays on a pallet, and as I visit the site on my every other day visit 3 times a week, I will take 4 cases into my car myself and transfer it to the next store, or 10 cases, whatever the need requires. But I'm doing all the moving personally myself between the stores.
And when does this happen? Early in the morning or just, timing?
Delivery, usually would be 9 to 5. I can't specify for the delivery. For my schedule, usually the afternoon. I start in the morning in the south. I'm not at the site till about 9 o'clock. I'm there for about 3 hours and then I'll leave. So between noon and 3.
Let's address the perhaps more thorny question of reducing some of the impervious. I think the concern here is to preserve the right to not only access that area, but to provide an area for future parking if those service bays are given new life and cars are serviced there again. We don't want to relinquish that right. We don't want to paint ourselves into a corner where now we don't have enough space to put the cars outside if necessary, waiting to get serviced. So that's the balance that we're trying to strike here.
We can appreciate that, and given the nature of the building that's already there, I can understand that that's not an unreasonable thing to aspire to. I guess I'm sort of thinking if you've reactivated those bays and needed room to pull cars out of the bays and park them opposite the bays, I'm still having a little trouble understanding why it would take 80 feet. And I'm not saying it wouldn't take 50 or 60 feet at least, but it just seems like it's just more than it absolutely has to be. And if I'm wrong, I mean, one of the things that wasn't completely addressed was why, and I know that the testimony offered by Mr. Flynn addressed the criteria that would enable the board to grant the variances. So I'm not saying he didn't do that, but when the board members said there's a place on the lot where a conforming location could be selected, why are we not using that? In the same breath, to have a conversation about all this other land on the lot that's kind of with these wide open spaces. I'm just having a hard time in my own mind leaving this situation when we're done with it, with these issues resolved the way they look like they're going to be resolved. And I don't think this is a bad use for the property. I actually think it's certainly going to be needed in the future, and the legislature has determined that it's appropriate to permit these here. So we're not fighting over whether that's the right use. I think it's much more, I'm not saying we're fighting at all, but I think it's much more about this opportunity, and we haven't had many over the last 25 years, while the applicant is before us, to secure some control over the way the site's being used and managed and how it appears to the public. And I probably said more than enough about that, but thank you. Now, Frank, if you lay the back of the building out, a typical double stacked parking row, it's 2 18-foot stalls and a 24-foot aisle, which gives you 60 feet versus the 80. Yeah, that was about what I was guessing, Paul. I knew you'd have the math for us, but it just seemed like an extra 20 feet of that kind of, and when there's no active use of that space, then it's 60 feet of inactivated, unlandscaped area on the lot.
Frankly, it sounds reasonable.
Well, but wait, so a double stacked parking,
If you have a 2-way aisle is 24 feet wide
right?
and 18-foot stalls on either side, it's 60 feet. In this case, you would need that first 18 feet is to get square into the building to enter the bay.
Yep.
24-foot aisle to move both ways,
Mhm.
and then parking vehicles
Oh, so
waiting to be serviced on the other side.
Flipped.
That's
Okay.
where I came up with the 60 feet.
I thought you were putting double stack parking in the middle of the.
How is that impacted if we're being asked to potentially dramatically relocate the EV charging stations? What complications does that create?
Well, I don't think anybody's asking you to dramatically relocate the EV charging stations at this point,
Okay, then perhaps I misunderstood.
unless I'm reading the board wrong.
No, it's only.
It's the transformer, I
It's, it's a transformer and that just can't be closer to the road.
Understood, okay. I didn't know if there was a suggestion, I thought there may have been a suggestion that we put them behind the building, put that.
And there was some discussion by the applicant on why they are sited where they are, and there's logic to that.
Okay, fine.
If I could just offer, if the aspect that you see coming down Washington Valley Road didn't have a 100-foot wide curb cut and had some line of landscaping and controlled access into the site over there, I think the appearance from off-site would be so dramatically changed that maybe having a lot of space back here wouldn't be the same thing. It's just the wide open feeling of looking into something that doesn't appear at all kind of prepared for public view.
I have 2 minutes to confer with my client and diagnosis.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Just
Do
return
you want to take 5 minutes? You-
Sure.
okay. Take a break?
Thank you.
Start.
Thank you for the opportunity to confer with our professionals and client.
Okay,
I think we've come up with the following proposal. We can reduce the amount of impervious cover of the gravel that is in the area that Mr. Banish spoke to. It's approximately 80 feet wide. We can reduce that to 60 feet. It will get tapered out at Washington, I think it's Washington Valley Road, so that the curb cut does not change and we don't find ourselves in the crosshairs of the county trying to get revised approvals there. We'll add additional landscaping. We ask that additional landscaping be subject to review and approval of your engineer and your planner. We'll move the parking back out of the setback. We'll just shift everything out and also the transformer would have to be located out of any setback. So that
correct.
we don't need any variance relief associated with that. I think based upon the exchange, those are very positive improvements. It will dress up this site. It'll just function better, look better, and bring it into the 21st century. And I think with that, the board's doing its job of periodically looking at these sites and bringing them closer to compliance and to what your present standards are. And I forgot to mention one thing, to the extent that any of the gravel, and I haven't been there, so I can't say that. I believe you when you say there's ruts and it's in disrepair. Certainly that needs to get cleaned up, fixed.
Yeah, we'd like to see it a little tidier. And, you know, I mean, it's not the most beautiful building either. I mean, we'd like to see
Understood.
just, you know, to have some improvement to it.
And
Is there any thought about dressing up the building itself a little bit too? Is there any thought with that?
you haven't.
Oh, to paint?
Yeah.
Paint with foot.
I don't know if that's,
I mean, how would you recommend tidying up the old building? I mean, I know it's an eyesore.
It is.
We can offer French paint, yes, I mean, but, I mean, right now, I would take the board's review or whatever recommendations.
I think paint would definitely be a good start, you know, I think just, I definitely, anything you can do to dress it up a little bit, I think.
Make it look.
Would be
fresh.
improvement. Yeah, it's, I mean, it's the entrance to our community basically. And,
Freshen it up. Yes, if I could add, Madam Chair, one of the things that could become a confusing issue later that maybe we can clarify now. It's not uncommon for those large electrical boxes to end up becoming some kind of art space, you know, whether they're painted on or they have these plastic, you know, design things that can be placed on them, but they can, if they're gonna stick out anyway, if they stick out in an artistic way, people seem to find them a lot less objectionable. But what we've seen in the past is sometimes somebody wants to do that and the township says, well, that's a sign. because you're now putting a message on the side of this, whatever size box it is. I think we could clarify the fact that we would not consider that to be a sign if they, I'm not telling them they have to do that, but if they were persuaded to do that, or if it was something that caught on in this town like it has in some other towns, they should be able to know that probably is not going to be a problem where they'd have to come back to the board.
Well, that's a great idea, and if you can refer us to the towns where you've seen this, Frank, it would be appreciated, so we can look and maybe seek out the people who have.
Bridgewater has them, definitely.
It would need HPC blessing. Because you're in the historic district, the Historic Preservation Commission would have to look at whatever you're gonna do. It's a gas station, so it should be okay.
Yeah.
As far as the storage area, we would certainly stipulate that it can only be used for storage by any businesses in which Mr. Jallo has an ownership interest limited to the convenience stores that he has an ownership interest in. We're not looking to use this as storage for third parties, to be limited to that.
Yeah, no rent.
Not going to be offered rent as rental space, as storage space for anyone else for any other purpose.
I have a question. You,
Yes, sir.
my recollection is you don't post the price of your gas so you can see it. Am I wrong?
It's only on the pumps. The
Yeah,
pumps
well, you
themselves.
can't-
That's, you have to have the, so the, as far as we took the lease of Exxon, the township restricted signage. Restricted them from ID sign, restricted Exxon, not us. That was before us, and we just didn't launch that, and we just continued to operate without the price sign. If you notice that it's sign, we're not objecting to that. We just thought the township was against it. But that's what we went with from.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's an amended site plan and additional variances for the freestanding sign.
Except I never know what the price is when I drive by. Of course, Tim's shaking his head because he only uses electric.
I also don't want a big sign out there.
Carol, I have a question.
Yeah,
I sent some questions.
Go ahead.
So, I hate to put a wrench into everything here, but I've got to put this out there for the board and everyone. I've been at this gas station many times. And the traffic circulation here is somewhat hazardous. Because you have, on the south side entrance, you have people coming and going. Is a sharp hill that goes down, and then there's no direction as to which, some people come in from the north side, some people come in from the south side, and it gets a little wacky. I think it's a really good idea that we're moving those two EV stations further back, because that keeps at least those people further away from the entrance. But the question I have for anyone here is, should there be some more appropriate directional signs for traffic in and out of this property? Because we've talked about this at the Shell station.
Yeah, we did.
And this, I've almost had a couple of car accidents where I'm trying to pull out because I came in from the other side and people are coming up 206 and zooming right in and so forth. So I'm sure the owner has probably had to deal with this over the years. Is there any way we can maybe put directional signs on the pavement or something? I don't know. I just want to put it out there because I think it's important.
We usually operated years ago, and customers refuse to follow the signs, the arrows. I mean, it's just, you know.
It doesn't help either that, I mean, that in every car, like some cars have the tank on the left and some have it on the right, you know, and then that becomes a problem. I do know, but I mean, if you have the directional, everybody following it, then one person can occupy one side at a time.
So how about
I would
if
suggest
you use an EV station, maybe go around the back and exit that way? Because now those people have to pull out and pull in front of the pumps to get out of the place.
I'm not sure that's true, because I'm from 206, and then you have the option of exiting out the same way or towards Washington Valley, depending on their direction. I don't see that an EV charging person would come to the gas pumps. I mean, they don't take fuel. So I think that we would avoid that mess, which you're correct, at all costs. They would come in on the 202 as a main entrance, 202 north, go to the right, charge their units, and then pull out depending on which direction they're heading.
Well, that's the question there, okay? So it's not about what way they come in, it's about the way they go out. And because I don't even know if they're technically allowed to make a left and go south on 206 coming out of there. If you charge an EV, then you just, you go around the back of the building and exit the rear.
Washington Valley.
Unless you want to go 202.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go north.
You don't want to cross Washington Valley Road.
No.
You're going 202, 206 north.
You
You
wanna go-
want to come out of that southern end. I think it's right answer.
I'm not saying what people, I just want to bring it up.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
When the road is red, you're gonna be blocked from doing that anyway, because the car's backed up in front of that entire property.
Yep.
I mean, tonight, there's no exception to come home.
Can I suggest that we have, Mr. Brower take a look at it to see if there's any wayfinding or directional signage that may be appropriate that might better control internal traffic circulation?
I would like that. I was going to ask the engineer this question specifically, and I don't know if he has any input, since he's probably designed locations and properties where traffic flow is important. I don't know if he has anything to add to that.
I think it's a good comment and as Anthony mentioned, we will agree to provide some form of wayfinding signs. Traffic arrow signs would be helpful to know which way you could leave, which way you could enter.
I think anything would be helpful. That's.
Yeah, I think pavement markings are the way to go. I don't know if wayfinding signs that stand up is necessarily the way to go. We have limited jurisdiction over these driveways because they are regulated by the county and the state. But I think the painted arrows, while people will ignore them, will have, there are certain people who are intimidated by the signs. There's a site not far up 206 where both driveways were painted with in arrows and none of them had an out arrow. Certain committeeman's daughter was in there and she felt guilty about driving out.
Big win, Parliament, right?
You can never leave.
It's a great marketing technique.
There's a way to design some pavement markings, at least we can say as a board, we address that issue. And the owner can say, he's addressed that issue. And if someone goes the wrong way and hits someone else.
I
You did your due diligence.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good.
That's when we tried it 25 years ago. I don't think 80% of our customers are gonna pay attention to the markers, but we're happy to comply.
I agree with you. We see all kinds of stuff.
Oh, we sure do.
I have a couple things. If I
Yeah,
can.
go right ahead,
Okay.
Tim.
Just an observation to Lou's point. I think I haven't been to your gas station in a while, nothing personal, but I don't get gas. But when I did, I avoided going behind and getting the entrance and the exit farther to the right of the building. You can get out there because it was always potholes. I just didn't want to drive back there. And I think maybe people that come to your station often could possibly go up and out there, but it was so pothole ridden that you don't drive back there. So that other entrance exit, which would be great for people at the pumps, could probably go up and then you could get on Washington Valley. Right now, they're trying to shoot across where all the cars are backed up and it's backing up and it's kind of a mess because I don't think anyone wants to go back there, even if there was an arrow, because it's kind of messed up. I don't know if that's still the case or not. Maybe it's not, but just an FYI, that's not, that's big.
To address it, so.
Yeah.
They've agreed to clean it up.
That's in the back. In regard to the storage issue, my personal opinion, as long as it's not third-party storage or storage for hire, it seems like what you're doing is perfectly fine. Okay, that's my opinion on that. Now, currently you have, I guess, one non-conforming use is a gas station was not permitted there currently, but it's there and that's fine. So what we want to do is add another non-conforming use, which would be the convenience store, correct?
Convenience store is actually a permitted retail use.
It is conforming.
Yeah, the convenience store is conforming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just hasn't been approved.
it hadn't been approved.
It hadn't been approved.
Right.
Okay. Okay, but in this particular area, does that meet? That's allowed in this particular area?
A retail store is permitted in the VN zone.
A retail store?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Is this a package deal, meaning that if one doesn't fly, you're not gonna do the other, or are you absolutely gonna do the EV charging stations, whether the convenience store gets approved or not? Or is it a package deal, you're gonna do all?
We prefer to look at the whole package. We're not saying it's all or nothing, but we would prefer.
Okay, and if something happens where the convenience store isn't approved, I'm not saying it is or isn't, and you do decide to go ahead with the EV charging stations, will you then still make these improvements to the property?
I think the answer is yes.
Okay, anybody else?
But just keep in mind that the parking that we're proposing, the additional parking, is triggered by the convenience store. So if you're not going to approve the convenience store, then we have to revisit whether we need all that additional parking.
Right.
So it is interrelated.
Part of it.
And to Mr. Ferraro's point, it is a permitted use. And these convenience stores, especially what's offered here for sale, the limited nature of it, this is not a Wawa or it's so incidental. In many municipalities, these convenience stores are permitted accessory uses to gas stations, and I think it complements it, it makes perfect sense.
But how do we monitor it? You know, you say, oh, we're only gonna have certain items in there. How do you monitor the creep of that?
Well, the way you monitor it part is you've got Board of Health requirements. If you start making coffee, serving food, preparing food, that triggers a whole different set of regulations that we need to comply with. These are just prepackaged goods that are sold, no more, no less, and you've got coolers for beverages.
And just to add to Tony's comment, we've been operating that convenience store snack room that I call it for 25 years. The township, the county of Bedminster or Somerset County has inspected us for 25 years. So for food service, there's 3 levels of food service: restaurant where you're seating, convenience store like Wawa where you're preparing foods, and what I call a snack shop, what we have, which is only restricted to packaged goods. So we've been inspected by, the fire department every year, the Somerset County Health Department for that monitors that we're only preparing, packaged goods. And the reason that the county would come in is because, again, we've been operating that way for 25 years. We don't have any sanitation. So I can't offer you coffee because there's no way for me to wash it for you in a 3-tier sink. Our building is so old and antiquated that our only sewer septic it's not septic. City sewer is the 2 bathrooms that are on the side of the building. One interior, one exterior.
So currently that's an 800 square foot area. Could that expand if we give approval?
We cannot without coming back to this board for approval, and we cannot offer additional goods without seeking your approval as well.
And besides the board's approval to become a full convenience store, I would have to provide the state and the county the ability that shows that, I have proper sanitation, a proper food license for my employees, probably an additional employee that we don't have the volume or the sales to justify an extra employee and the extra cost.
I'm comfortable with convenience store. We keep saying convenience store.
I am
looking for a way to get my mind around it.
So
but it's not.
Forgive me, I've been in this industry for 40 years.
Yeah, it's
Grew up in a service bay. Everything we sell, if you go back 30 years ago, would have been in a vending machine, a cigarette vending machine, a Coke vending machine, and we sell the auto necessary items for our customers: oil, transmission fluid, additives for the fuel, all auto gas station related items. So that's all we've continued to do in this site. Now, as branding has changed and, you have 20 different flavors of Coke, you have 20 different flavors of items, we see what our customers want, we provide it. Now, as Tony alluded, 90% of our sales are cigarettes. 5% is auto and 5% is my soda and candy. A lot of time I'm throwing my candy away because it expires before it's sold.
So you're not looking to expand?
No, and we haven't expanded in 25 years. We're not looking to add lottery. We could have added lottery. We don't want to because that's another manning issue. And it creates a delay and a bottleneck that would block our store, like they alluded to, it's tight. It's a nightmare to get in and out. We want to continue the operation of the fuel and not impede the sales of our gas station.
Okay, I appreciate that.
What are your hours of operation?
Monday through Saturday, 6 to 11.
I don't know.
Sunday, we have limited hours, 8 to 8.
And
I think they leave early sometimes.
Same, but I mean, it's, you know, like Monday through Thursday, Friday and Saturday being the only busy days we have. We have permit my night gentleman says, I'm tired. There's no customers, the road is dead. We let them go home at 9:30.
The store is open when the gas station is open typically, right?
Only when the attendant's there, the morning and when the.
And you have the one person, generally one person on the site at a time?
It's just
too?
one person.
One person, okay, so they're operating everything.
If I can, I'd like to bring Mr. Flynn back up. He tapped my shoulder. He said he wanted to add something to the record.
Okay,
This is pretty much just for your attorney and anyone that's as nerdy as me, but I put in the testimony for D1 because I was going off Mr. Banish's report. To the extent that it's D2 for expansion of a non-conforming use, because we're not proposing a non-permitted use. To the extent, like I already told you, retail is permitted. If the board finds that that is a permitted use, we'd be looking at D2. It's a less stringent test. We don't have to prove site suitability, although I think that all still stands. All those benefits that I went through go towards the positive criteria. The essence really is, are we improving the property? And I think the last 30 minutes really just bolstered that point, that we are going to improve it aesthetically, and all of the negatives still stand. So I just wanted to make sure that that's on the record, that's all.
thank you. I appreciate that.
That's our case.
Okay, I am gonna open it to the public. Anybody in the audience or online, Janine?
It's not online, and I just want to say to the Board of Health Secretary, he's 100% correct that is what their license is for. There's not a kitchen, it's
Right.
almost considered like a vending machine. And I do have a copy of that. Obviously, I get it every year from the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you, Janine.
And this cannot expand, I mean, it could just.
They have to come back.
Yeah.
You have to come back.
The plot line cannot expand and the space can.
All right, let's stay just like it is. All right.
Okay, if there's no one from the public, we'll close to the public.
I just had one question about the environmental status, because I know it seemed like there was some remediation going on there for a while. Can you just talk about that?
The site has been under remediation before we entered almost 30 years ago. There was an old golf station, I think, across the street where the bank exists. They had a diesel tank. This is before we came in. This is probably in the 90s or 80s. Not sure of the dates. But when they destroyed that site, or when they pulled out of that site, they left an abandoned diesel tank into 206. And when they ripped that out, it was unfortunately full, and that created a lot of, probably several thousand gallons of diesel fuel to spill onto the ground. And then the dry cleaner, the line across the street, that had a remediation issue that is coming through probably the corner of our property. So we're on the New Jersey site as a contaminated site. We are monitoring that annually. You know, it's getting better. I'm happy to share our environmental engineers information if the township requires.
You run Barker bus across the street that had all kinds of things going on where the car wash is. And when they took the tanks out of here, the one time they found crushed tanks underneath those tanks.
Yeah.
That precedes me, so I'm not aware of that.
Thank you for that.
Unfortunately, it doesn't precede me.
Okay,
Thank
so you're being monitored at this point.
They're
Being monitored.
monitored.
Yeah, we're under the state, of our EPA issues, and we're doing annual testing on our wells. We have water wells on site because we're considered a contaminated site.
So do you have access to the city water?
No. City water for the building, yes, for our restrooms.
He's talking about monitoring.
Yeah, monitoring wells is just for the underground water that runs through for contamination.
But you're tapped into the American water or whatever.
Correct.
And the original contamination started from the golf station across the street, is that?
I don't know when the original contamination, but that was the biggest issue that's triggered us as a contaminated site, because they thought the tanks were from Exxon. After their environmental investigation, it was from the abandoned golf station.
Yeah, I went through that whole area, right?
Yeah, he happens to be between what was the Gulf gas station and the dry cleaners and the stream. or wants to go to the stream.
Yeah.
So it gets to cross his property.
Okay. Anything you want to say as a sum up?
No.
Okay.
Paul, I had one question. The schematics of the charging stations had bollards. I assume you're good with where they want them and
Yeah,
that they're sufficient and all.
it's not good to
things.
back into those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Not good. Okay. Okay, everybody good? All right, Tom, I think we're ready.
Okay, everybody, so it's a motion to approve the D. And I think it is a D1 variance because technically you can't have both a convenience store and a gas station in the zone. You can't have any gas stations at all. So we will be, if the board grants it, be granting a D1 variance with the related preliminary and final site plan and site plan waiver for the gravel and limited curbing. It will be subject to the conditions that you discussed this evening in Paul and Frank's reports. The specific condition that the convenience store is to be accessory to the gas station and limited to the approximate 850 square feet shown on the plans with the limited sales of cold drinks and packaged goods, but no food preparation, no preparation of coffee or tea, and no allowance for such a license for food preparation. They'll move the parking spaces and the EV chargers to be compliant with the 30-foot setback, including the any electrical service box. They will be also given a D1 variance for the storage for the offsite convenience stores owned by the principal of this station. But there'll be no rental lease arrangements and no storage by third parties other than those convenience stores owned by the principal of this station. They'll reduce the gravel parking area or gravel driving area in the rear to 60 feet in width or depth, but maintain an existing curb cut at Washington Valley Road. They will also add additional landscaping and to the reasonable satisfaction of the board engineer and the board planner. Any dispute with them shall be returned to the board for final determination. They will paint and otherwise freshen up the exterior of the building. And Mr. Ferrero is authorized to work with the applicant to have the applicant do painted markings for direction of traffic on the driveways and parking area. And those are the conditions that I had, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Walter?
Aye.
Ms. O'Brien?
I,
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. DeGiovanni?
Aye.
Mr. First?
Aye.
Chairwoman Getzlaff?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm done.
Yep. Okay, does the board have anything else they want to discuss? Anything? No? And we need a motion?
next week.
Next week, there's no meeting.
Because
No meeting next week, Jim?
No meeting next week.
Okay.
What is
I've
that?
been told that we have several applications besides Tesla when they resubmit that are coming, but as of right now, we don't. So
And I know about October. Yeah.
I don't, unless Tesla is done by then,
Gotcha.
we may not have a October meeting, at least not the first week, but I will keep you posted.
Of course.
But definitely not next week.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. So we need a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing we stand up.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
I mean,
Have a good weekend, everybody.
the real issue, clean up the problem.
Yes. Whatever.